Hi, my name is Vivian, and today we're talking about grief. Now, this is actually a really hard topic to talk about. For one thing, it's actually very personal and raw for me. But for another, I think it's almost impossible for anybody to give universal advice about grief. Everybody experiences and expresses it differently. But the reality is, many of us will probably be touched by grief in this season, whether that's in our communities, in our friends' lives, or in our own personal life. So as someone who's walked through loss in the last few years, I'm going to share a few practices that have been helpful for me, and my hope is that God will use that to prepare us to handle grief and mourning well. Now, there might be some of us who are already experiencing grief, and I want to say, I'm sorry that you're there. I'm sorry. That must be really hard. And this video is first and foremost for you. But I'm also going to share a few tips for those of us who might find ourselves in more of a supporting role, walking alongside somebody else who is grieving. So my first advice is, lean into the quiet. Many of us are uncomfortable with silence, but it's okay to not have the answers or not know how to tell others how you feel. Grief is a journey, and it'll hit us differently at different times, often in unexpected ways. So let yourself feel, sit in the quiet, and trust that the words will come when you need them. For those of us who are walking alongside somebody else, one of the best things my friends did when I was grieving was come over to my apartment and watch The Crown with me, even though I fell asleep every single episode and had no idea what was going on. That's what I needed. I didn't want to talk about it. I wasn't ready to think about it, but I just wanted someone to sit there with me. So ask your friends, what do they need? Do they want to be left alone? Do they want to talk about it? Do they want you to just sit over FaceTime with them for 2 hours and just be silent and do something else? Your willingness to enter into uncomfortable spaces with them will speak volumes. Advice number 2, take time to remember. A couple summers ago, the fellowship at GW lost a member to a sudden accident. The first thing we did was gather everybody who was still in town, and we spent the whole day together in a tiny apartment. After the first initial hours, where there was a lot of silence and crying, we began to tell stories about our friend. Now, there was more crying, but actually a lot of laughing too. It was a beautiful time of coming together as a community to grieve and celebrate our friend's life. So write down your memories, not just what the person did, but how they made you feel and what you appreciated about them. If you're artistic, maybe you can draw something or draw a scene that you remember about them. Take the time to text a memory of the person you lost to their family member or closest friends. Many who experience loss in this season might not have the experience of being able to grieve in community. So I encourage you to reach out with small gestures to give them a taste of what it means to grieve with others. Lastly, engage God. So what does that even look like? I heard a sermon recently that said that waiting on God means doing everything with Him while we wait for answers or breakthroughs. We work with Him, we rest with Him, we ask questions of Him, we complain to Him, everything. I know it might be hard to see right now, but as someone who's walked through loss in the last few years, I can honestly say that I am just beginning to see what God was up to when He felt the most distant. I firmly believe that if we choose to continue to engage God in the midst of the confusion that is grief, we come out the other side with a firmer understanding of His character and a better way of loving the world. I hope that can be encouragement to you today.